Ladies and gentlemen, hey hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Of course, since Warzone is currently all the rage in Call of Duty, everyone is trying to figure out the pro strats, right? You know, the best drop spots, the best late game techniques to utilize, and all of that good stuff. And while we have covered a lot of tips already, ultimately the biggest impact on what goes on in game is the weapon you're using. Now, getting your custom loadout is obviously going to help a ton. And while different classes will work for different types of players, pretty much everybody is always on the lookout for those weapons that consistently perform well. So today we're not necessarily breaking down the best loadout setups, but instead the best individual weapons you'll want to be using. So if you enjoy the video, or if you just find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe to stay up to date with the latest Warzone news, intel, tips and tricks, and all other sorts of information too. Also, if you do want to help me move on to the next round in Scuff Madness, be sure to use code Immortal on literally any Scuff gaming product. Anyways, as far as the best weapons go, unlike multiplayer in Modern Warfare, here in Warzone, I don't think there is necessarily a single best weapon. Obviously, there are some that are better than others, and those are the ones we have featured in this video. But with how much variety can go into any given gunfight, one weapon is not really suited for every single type of engagement. So we don't have a full-on numbered list here, but instead just some really solid weapons and attachment setups to try out. Now, the first weapon I find to be really consistent is going to be the Bison, surprisingly. This is actually my favorite weapon over in multiplayer, and here in Warzone, while it is meant for close quarters engagements, it can absolutely shred. Now, here's the thing in Warzone. Sometimes it's not about how hard a weapon hits, it's about how fast it can shoot. Because when an enemy sees their armor depleting, they're gonna kind of go into panic mode, and the Bison is a great shock and awe type of weapon. So on it, I am currently using the monolithic suppressor. As you'll see throughout the video, that is pretty much a major key on all of my classes, as it extends the range and also keeps me hidden. Then I've got the steel barrel to increase the range, the control, and the bullet velocity, all of which are going to be super important in a battle royale scenario. Now, I'm also using the tac laser to help with the stability. However, this could be swapped out for another attachment of your choosing. Then I have the no stock option for better movement, and finally the stippled grip tape for better speed as well. All of which will make this weapon great for close quarters combat, and also really good for rotations too, since it is very lightweight. Now, the next weapon that I find to be a really good choice is going to be the MP7. This is a weapon that you can find on the ground at any given stage in the game, and the base MP7 certainly is not too bad. Obviously, you do want to have your own custom class on it if you can, but definitely don't overlook the stock one, as it can be pretty good in those earlier stages. But as far as what you want to be using on the MP7, once again I am going with the monolithic suppressor for the same reasons as before. Then I've got the recon barrel for better range, control, and bullet velocity, the Merc foregrip for better recoil control and hipfire accuracy, the 50 round mags because it does take a bit longer to take out enemies in Warzone, so those extra bullets can definitely come in handy. And finally, I've also got the stippled grip tape yet again for better mobility. Now, all of this is going to make the MP7 really consistent in those close and medium range fights. And honestly, the MP7 more so than the Bison is viable at those medium ranges, especially with the range extending attachments we feature here. Then, next up we've got the Ram 7, which is once again a case of not necessarily being the most powerful weapon out there. However, its faster fire rate is great for providing a sort of intimidation factor, I guess, and its versatility is another great bonus too. You know, you can use this thing close range, medium range, long range, it doesn't really matter, and it will do well in most of those fights. Now here I am using the monolithic suppressor yet again, the XRK Ranger barrel for better range, control, and bullet velocity, the GI mini reflex to make those longer range gunfights just a bit more viable, the commando foregrip for some more recoil management, and finally the 50 round mags for the same reason as on the MP7. So I would say the Ram 7 is a great addition to an overkill class, specifically one that uses a sniper, because it is going to be really consistent, especially in those medium range fights, and that offers a great balance to a more distance-based class. Now, as I said earlier, sometimes it is more about how fast a weapon fires, and not so much about how hard a weapon hits. But power can obviously swing a gunfight too, and that's exactly what this next weapon offers. So here we've got the Scar, which is also another ground spawn, so using this early game can be a good choice even though it doesn't have the most ideal attachments on it. The Scar though is a super heavy hitting weapon that can shred through armor and health alike. Now my class here consists of the monolithic suppressor once more, the 20-inch LB barrel for the same control, range, and velocity benefits that we've seen before, the close quarters stock to make it a little more agile, the commando foregrip once again, and the 30-round mags, as the Scar's ammo count is one of its major drawbacks, so just having those extra bullets makes it a lot more convenient to use. Then, staying on the trend of heavy hitters, we've also got the Odin, which is actually the single strongest assault rifle out of all the ones we have available. But its drawbacks come in the form of its fire rate and its recoil, as both are, I guess you could say, less than ideal. But once you do end up actually getting used to this thing, the Odin absolutely rips through armor, and when you hit headshots, yeah, the Odin is unstoppable. So on it, I've got the Colossus suppressor. This is unique to the Odin specifically, and it helps with the range, the control, and it obviously suppresses the weapon as well. Then I've got the 730mm barrel for better range, the GI Mini Reflex once more, the Merc foregrip for better control, and finally the rubberized grip tape, as this will also help with the recoil too. And altogether, you are really able to give the Odin a pretty significant accuracy boost and make it a lot more viable all around. Then, following that up, we've got the AK47, another weapon that by nature is pretty heavy hitting, although our class kind of changes that up. But you can find a handful of AKs out of stashes, and all of those are going to be pretty consistent in those close and medium range fights. However, for my class, I like to use the monolithic suppressor, the Cronin LP945 reflex. That is just strictly preference on that one. Then I've got the skeleton stock, the commando foregrip, and finally the 545 rounds, as these will help with the recoil control, and their damage is honestly still really good. So honestly, you can't really go wrong with this one. Now, I do also have a few classes that I think stand above the rest, but this is all based on preference and preference alone. There is not necessarily a best class overall, like I said earlier, but these are my favorites that I've used so far. So the Grau is going to be an obvious one. This is probably my second favorite weapon in the game right now, and in Warzone it is very, very consistent. So I like to use the monolithic suppressor, I know, big surprise, the Nexus barrel for better range and control, the no stock option for better mobility, the commando foregrip once more, and the 50-round mags for the same reasons as before. I also think the M4A1 is another great choice. Obviously, it's probably the most popular choice out of everything because, well, it's the M4A1. And on it, my class consists of the suppressor that is monolithic, the M16 barrel for better range, control, and bullet velocity, the GI Mini Reflex, the commando foregrip, and finally the 50-round mags as well. So honestly, a very similar setup to that of the Grau. Now, as far as distance goes, the HDR is going to be your best friend. This is the best sniper in the game thanks to its range and damage, and thus, if you want a good weapon for long distance fights, this is it. So here I am using the monolithic suppressor, the pro barrel to extend the range and increase the control, the tac laser for better stability, the thermal sniper scope since thermals are pretty overpowered right now, and also the Stalker Scout stock for a faster ADS. Then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, to close things out for today, I have the R90 shotgun. And here I am using the muzzle choke for a better range, the sentry barrel for a better range, the 5mW laser for better accuracy, the stippled grip tape for a better sprint to fire speed, and also sleight of hand for a faster reload. And this thing up close is nearly unbeatable, as it will take out armor in 1 to 2 shots, and then deplete health in the same way as well. So it is an absolute phenom when it comes to CQC fights. So with all of that being said, those are effectively the top 10 weapons to use here in Warzone, and that is going to wrap things up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, or if you just found it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here, and you want to stay up to date with the latest Call of Duty news and intel, updates and leaks, and pretty much everything else in between, feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when I post a new video. As I mentioned earlier, round 2 of Scuff Madness is currently going on, so if you want to help me get one step closer to getting my very own Scuff controller, be sure to use code IMMORTAL on literally anything on the site. But once again, thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.